Hello and welcome everyone. This is Type V3 with a Figma review of Sword Art Online's lead heroine, Asuna, otherwise known as the Knights of the Blood Oath's second in command. Figma Asuna is a pretty looking figure, and that's the best way I can put it. The overall aesthetic is comprised of a complex design and a simple color scheme. The white and scarlet paint came out clean, and the silver and gold detailing done throughout the body are crisp in appearance. The pearlescent white breastplate is easily the high point in terms of visuals, while Asuna's hair is unfortunately the weakest. It looks a little bland and could have used some shading, especially around the braids. On the other hand, the actual sculpt and proportions of the body are nearly perfect. She stands at just over 5 inches tall, which seems like an appropriate height for this scale. Her shoulder straps, wrist cuffs, and ankle guards are all separate pieces and definitely add to the layered look. Another highlight are Asuna's stockings. Despite appearing like a simple paint app, the design is actually molded onto her leg. It's a neat touch. As a side note, her hair has been sculpted into more of an action pose, so sometimes it may look slightly odd when she's just standing there. 3 faces are included with this Figma, and swapping them is achieved by pulling off her bangs. The first face is a gentle smile, the second is a side-staring combat face, and the third expression is Asuna pouting. The faces definitely nail the resemblance of the anime character, and I appreciate the diversity between them, though I'm a little disappointed that the face I favor most stares off to the right. First things first, Asuna is extremely back heavy. If you check out her profile, that hair sticks out, same with these coattails, so when you just try and lay her down, she will like to lean back. So I recommend always using the Figma stand when you pose her on your shelf, because these feet are so tiny and there's no real heel supports there. Secondly, this sword here, or this scabbard, it's a secure connection, but if you check out closely, the connection is actually just a little hole there that pegs in through here, and this is a very soft rubberized plastic. In fact, most of the costume is apart from the breastplate, so while this connection is secure, I am worried that over time, if I just leave this there, this might get stretched out, especially if I put it in a dynamic pose and I leave these coattails out. So again, some things to look out for. As for posability, it is your standard Figma body. The nice thing, though, is that usually with Figmas with coattails like this, I always find the legs get in the way, or they get in the way of the legs, but with this Figma, it doesn't. And I do like how they made this side extremely long, and they didn't just cut it down the middle, so that's a great addition. But everything else that you find on the Figma is here, ball jointed and thigh swivels there, knee joints, ankle rockers, pull down elbows or shoulders with the elbow joint, wrists. A really good range in the torso. I was surprised to see that she had a good range there. Unfortunately, the waist is pretty weak, and as an interesting addition, she has a joint in her ponytail there for the hair to go up, which is awesome for getting this Figma stand in, and again, awesome when you have her hands behind her. And it just adds for another great amount of awesome posing ability when she's in some sort of action pose. This one looks kind of strange, but you get the idea. Her posability is pretty good. I mean, for the most part, it is your standard Figma stuff, but there are minor tweaks here and there to just make her a little bit more fun to play around with. On Asuna's Figma hand rack, you'll find fists, open palms, dynamic hands, and 2 gripping hands for her sword. Now, because the wrist cuffs are an entirely separate piece, you do have to remove them every time you want to swap her hands. Nothing huge, just another step to consider. The main accessory Asuna comes with is the sword on her hip, the lambent light. The silver finish is great, and the extra detailing is nice too. Then there's the included effect part, which is one of the most interesting I've seen in a while. Also, if you don't like the multiple stab look, you can use just the blue effects section to emulate a glowing sword. Asuna's final accessory is her original starting weapon, the Silveric Rapier. The sword and scabbard look fine, but the inclusion of this accessory at all is perplexing. Because Asuna can only have one sword equipped at a time, having this extra is almost meaningless. On top of that, it can't be used with the effect parts. I'm sure some SAO fans will like this accessory for its novelty, but I would have much rather preferred a pop-up window display, cooking utensils, or even just food. So let's recap on what exactly Figma Asuna has to offer. For starters, she looks great, there's no denying that. Articulation is the standard Figma affair, albeit with some minor improvements around. There's great diversity in the faces and hands. Then there's her one excellent accessory and one complete dud. Finally, much like Figma Kirito, she's a little pricier than I would have liked, since I don't feel there's quite a $35 value in the box. With all that in mind, is this figure worth grabbing? Well, if you're a Sword Art Online fan, then the answer is yes. But what if you're not? Is Figma Asuna still worth looking into? Definitely. Regardless of the weaker accessories, the core figure is solid. Many other Figmas fall into the category of either looking fantastic and not being very playable, or vice versa. Asuna manages to strike a balance between those two design elements, and that's what makes her great. Sure, she's a tad overpriced and clearly one of Max Factory's less thought out releases, but the end product is still one that manages to be fun. Anyways, this has been Type V3. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this review. Whether or not we get more Sword Art Online Figmas is completely up in the air. Though for me, I'm perfectly fine with the two we've gotten already and wouldn't care to see any more.